Hi, day 28. Typing title. I don't know if we're live yet, so if you can hear me, we are. And if you can't hear me yet, then that means we're not live. Oh, I don't get to finish typing the title. Hello! Hi! Hello. I'm really happy to be here today because I'm going to tell you a story. This talk is going to be called Safe and Seen. We're going to talk about what that means. I so much wanted my kids when I became a mom, really when I got married. My whole goal was like, homie, you and me, my friend, husband, we're going to make a family where people feel safe and they feel seen. Because I was living out of a wound where I did not feel safe and seen. And so I needed that. I needed that for my kids. How many of you know it was a good desire? It was not a good demand. Yeah. So we're going to do a story time today. I was praying today for you guys and felt like prompted by the Lord, honestly, that this was what we're doing today, telling a story about being safe and being seen. Does that sound good? How many of you know that you cannot give what you do not have? I'm pulling up my live feed on my phone so I can see you. Do, 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 do. Yay, Kristen chatting in the Facebook group about Braveheart. Amazing to hear the amazing story behind the name for Brave Moms. I will definitely be picturing Mel Gibson now. Yes! What's so funny, you guys, if you've been tracking this whole challenge, I told you the story of Braveheart. I found out that I was related to Braveheart. I'm his 22nd great-granddaughter. And not only through my grandfather, so it was my dad, my grandfather, and then 19 more generations, I'm in the direct line of William Wallace. Not only that, but who my grandfather married is also in the direct line of William Wallace. And she is also related to someone called Robert the Bruce, who may be the actual Braveheart. So there are like ways I can't even wiggle out of that. It's not even like a maybe or like it's possible that. The genealogy screams it 3 ways. Isn't that crazy? That blows my mind. This is only for those of you who've been tracking. I'm not sure. This is not making sense to some of you. That's okay. I'm trying to pull up the live and I failed at that. How many of you know it's hard to find your own live stream? It's harder to find your own live stream. There you are. I see me and I see you. Yay, Lynn. Hi. Gosh, I love you. This has been so much fun to do together. Hannah, hello. Brenna, let's go. Good morning, Katrina. Yay. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, story time. I'm very excited. This is going to be a bit of a shoot from the hip story, but it's a good one, I promise. And part of the reason that I started thinking in this way is because I get some feedback from the people around me now and then that I don't understand the value of the community that I am building. Because I live in a world where I have been pretty demanding in my life. I'm not calling this a good thing. That I get to erp up what's in my heart and people will listen to me. Now, God is sharpening that I erp up what's in my heart for others and they listen to me for them. That's what he's turning that into. But it started as a demand from the time I was tiny that I need to say what I'm thinking about and I need to say what I'm feeling and I need to find someone who can validate, listen, and understand me. So I have sought out deep friendships, vulnerable relationships, authentic women and men in my life who want to do the real dang thing. That has just been a core value and a core pillar of mine. It is the thing I place as the utmost importance in my life by a compulsive, it's like it could get out of control and be a compulsive need to connect. And so far I've told you about 2 compulsions in my life today that God is using to serve people. He's using these things in my life. He's teaching me to aim those things at helping you, helping the brave moms, helping anyone who finds me on the internet, helping the people in my community, helping my kids, helping their dad. So What I forget though is not everybody has put that same demand on their life. Esther, hello! Not everybody has this propensity to find meaningful connection every day. And not everybody will neglect, this is when it's not good, will neglect their exercise, dishes, dog for a meaningful connection. I was like an addict for meaningful connection, which means all the other things in my life were neglected. Now, that is not so anymore. What I did instead is I created structures in my life to get healthy doses of meaningful connection on a regular rhythm so I don't have to set everything else aside to make that happen. I also have really turned that compulsive need for meaningful connection into a sober, happy, healthy part of my life. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Okay, so people have to give me this feedback. They say, hey, you don't understand. When women come into Brave Moms Academy and you're transparent and vulnerable, and then they get to be transparent and vulnerable, and they feel seen and they feel safe, you're forgetting, Katie, the power of that in their life. Not all of us have these deep, meaningful, safe, healthy connections in our communities. Not in our neighborhood, not at church, not in our friendships. Many friendships are actually fairly shallow. Can you relate to this? If you told me you had a coffee date with your mom, I would want to know the entire history of you and your mom. That's just how I work. I'm like, you told me about the tip of the iceberg. We're going way below the surface. Are you the kind of person who is like, get me below the surface immediately? I hate the small talk. I want the real story. Tell me the whole thing. And hey, by the way, I'm also going to tell you the whole thing. Used to be compulsively like, I'm going to overshare to get some connection and to make you feel safe. Not that, but I want to tell you the truth and the guts of what's going on in my life and my heart because that's what's valuable to me. So I want you to put in the chat right now, and if you're watching later, I want you to comment under this video. Are you the person who tends to live with friends who are cool with it just being on the surface? My kid's homework assignment the other day might be a topic we talk about, or like what I've been eating lately. I'm not saying those aren't valuable, but I'm saying not the emotional depth of meaning of everything going on between you or between that person and others. So put tip of the iceberg. If that's where you're comfy, you have lots of friends or you have a few friends, but the topics are practical. The topics of your relationship are day to day. They're grounded on earth. Or are you the type of person who does the deep dive? So I want to hear tip of the iceberg or deep diver in the chat. I love this. I love this topic. This is fun. See, I walked around the world thinking everybody was as deep, had a propensity for the depths that I do, and so I thought everybody was lying to me. That's what I would have said. Like at 11 years old, I was already like, everyone's lying. They're just not telling me what's going on under there. It turns out people can live on the surface and have a whole happy life. I like to prioritize relationships that go beyond the surface. Deep divers, got a couple divers in here. Yeah, I'm like, as soon as you tell me, I had a conversation with my husband about his parents the other day. I'm like, scuba mask on, tank full. Let's get to the bottom of this. Deep divers. Yes. Okay, cool. Oh, I love it. Okay. So I titled this talk, ooh, I like it. I'm kind of in the middle. I do a lot of surface, and then when the relationship is stronger, I love and prefer to be way beyond the surface. Love it. Deep diver Lynn. I wonder if I generally, in the internet world, generally attract the deep divers because I'm like, yo, we're going there. I don't know another place to live. I am learning, I will be honest. I'm growing a lot by being in relationships with people who prefer the surface. And by the surface, I do not mean not valuable. My kid's dad, he even jokes with me sometimes. One time he said, you know, it's okay to live like right here. And I was like, what is this? Like right here, what is this? He was like, you know, like shallow, like basic. It's okay to just live up here. Get your workout. Eat the food. Get the homework done, Have a satisfying day on earth. It cracks me up because I want to learn to meet him there. And I want to learn all the benefits of life here. In fact, it's one of my biggest growth points and something that we really go after in Brave Moms Academy, because that room is full of deep divers. We feel deeply, we care deeply, and we want meaningful change. So sometimes we all have to go check ourselves and go, could I just really deeply appreciate and find value in the day here in the room? Vacuum the carpet. I might even shampoo the living room this week. Shampoo the living room carpet and be satisfied. Nothing deep. I could praise Jesus just for who he is and what he's done and not ask him any hard questions on a day. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so the deep divers, we're learning to appreciate the practical, the surface life. And the surface life, it sounds like even in this room, appreciates the deep dive. And some of you who are listening will so appreciate the practical and really need to learn the value of the depth. Because here's my pitch about that. The depth is what's driving what's happening up here. And typically we don't notice that until it causes a problem. So one of my missions in the world is to identify what's going on in the depths before it causes a problem. Because it is affecting us. And by depths, I mean the emotional, the spiritual storyline. There's a storyline here. There are things you've believed about who you are and what you're here for that run deep. And unpacking that is going to help you make the adjustment that's needed to know who you are, exhibit it honestly, and then do what you're here to do. Know what I'm talking about? Your workout and your high protein breakfast and your intermittent fasting, these are the things I'm into. They will not necessarily target the thing going on beneath the surface, which is in your emotions and your beliefs. Rachel, hi! I saw your face the other day and I wondered if we'd see you today. I'm a deep diver and he's a practical one. Yes. Oh, it's so, man, it can be so alien. You're looking at somebody how did you miss that when you said that to me, it would break me this way? How have you not heard me say before, the storyline of my identity is that my emotions are completely shameful. And so when I start to show you one, and then you move on to making dinner without commenting on it, did you miss it? Or are you just cruel? That dynamic can be so challenging, and I am glad we're talking about it too, and that you're here. Okay, this talk is called Safe and Seen. Now I've told you the reason we're talking about this is because I underestimated the dramatic change that has happened in the lives of the women in Brave Moms Academy. Some of them, one of the biggest dramatic changes that they experience is they have a place where they feel safe and they have a place where they feel seen. And what that means is they can finally vomit up the ugly stuff on the inside and be loved and find out that it's not wrong. They're valid. The way they feel is valid. The way they think makes sense. They came from somewhere that created these thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. And they never had a place before to pour it out and be loved. And what that means is it can change. How many of you have wanted somebody to change something about themselves before you really heard them out? How many of you, me included, these are questions I ask myself on the regular, because this is the process. I want something about me to change before I go examine my feelings and beliefs about it. You guys are watching something amazing happen, because during this 30-day live challenge that Holy Spirit challenged me to, I'm having a belief shift about getting up at 5 in the morning. It's a belief shift I've been pursuing for 2 years. Okay, maybe a lot longer than that. But specifically 5 a.m., the Lord asked me for 5 a.m. It used to be 5:30 he asked me for. 2 years ago, he changed it to 5. He said, you sleep from 9 to 5. I could not crack the code on a 5 a.m. wake up, y'all. I am a night owl. I am so smart at night. I have so much energy, and I want to learn everything on YouTube that I need to know to move my life forward after 9 p.m. Can I get some night owls in the room? I'm like, party time. My kids went to bed, and now it is this visionary heart's time to get let out of the cage and cruise around the world and make some things happen, which really means learning stuff. That's kind of my wiring. I'm going to learn some things. I'm going to try some things. I have been known to start creating a landing page for something that I don't even know what it's going to be until 1 a.m. And then I never have used that landing page. I didn't know why I would get up at 5, and I didn't know what my beliefs about that were that needed to shift. So I was trying to do it from the outside. I was working on the tip of the iceberg. We're trying to move a whole iceberg by the tip. Can you imagine this? Let's just picture it for a second. Take a little tugboat. Go to Antarctica. Drill in a loop bolt to the tip of a whole iceberg, okay? This is how I like to do it. Hook up my little tugboat, maybe by a chain because I'm smart. It needs to be metal. And pull away, thinking I can change the result I'm getting, being up at night, wanting to get up at 5, but I want to change to be a morning person by moving the tip of the iceberg, just doing the behavior. I'm going to do a new behavior. I'm going to get up at 5. Guys, I'm a coach. I am a life coach. I am a transformation coach. I am a relationship coach, and I should know better. The getting up at 5 isn't going to change me into a morning person. It's a behavior change, yeah? Okay. During this live challenge, though, I got some new beliefs. Do you know what I believe now at the end of this 30 days? Oh, we're coming to a close. We got 2 more after this. Here's what I believe now. I'm telling you the value of the underneath of the iceberg, okay? Here's what I know now. If I don't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and write these analogies and consider what someone needs to hear and how they need to hear it to help them make a decision to enter into a movement that God is doing, every woman's movement, it's a women's movement, where one woman in every family that I can find is becoming safe and seen, full of love to give the people around her, becoming herself inside her family so that her husband and her kids get the invitation to do the same thing. And we're raising up a generation, this is what's in my heart, a generation of emotionally healthy Christian families who aren't trying to be Jesus, they're being them with him inside. Kids who aren't considering getting in the car with a drunk driver at 16, they're at home creating their digital course so they can become a millionaire, so they have an inheritance for their children. They could teach their children how to do it. I'm after something. And in these 30 days, because I had to discipline myself to do a talk every day, I discovered, the internet asked me to shut some tabs or it's going to close us down. So I got to do that really quick. Got distracted. Closing. I will listen to you, internet. I will honor the system. Okay, we should be good. During this 30 days, I had this thought. I have a new belief. If I don't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and pen the words that God is speaking to my heart and envision with him what you need, what women need to hear in order to take a step across the threshold to become a part of a movement that brings emotional health to every home in America. Big dream. If I don't get up and do that at 5 in the morning, the movement we should close the doors. It's going to die out. It's going to end. How many of you know that is a more powerful thought than I want to be a morning person because God asked me to get up at 5? Put it in the chat if you see the power in my new thought. This is the power of being safe and seen. I like a toddler, I spoke with my community openly during this 5 a.m. thing the Lord gave me to do. And I just told him every day, I'm a freaking toddler. I found a new show to watch. When my kids go to their dads, I like binged watched a Hulu series that I love. And I will tell you about it if you privately DM me, because there are too many F-bombs for me to publicly put my stamp on the show. The F-bombs were out of control. The storyline, the characters, and the generational thing happening, and then there's food, and there's like the culinary world. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. It's an incredible TV show. Instead of getting up at 5 every day, I found a TV show to watch at night. And since I have an iPhone, I can bring it to my bedroom and I can just watch it as many hours as I want when my kids are gone. Until my belief changed. If I don't pen the words every morning, it's the only time in my day that can happen. My Google Calendar is a joke. You should see it. It's a joke, and I chase every appointment all day. Like my life depends on it. I have 3 homeschooling children. I'm a single parent. I run a biz ministry, an organization, and I volunteer as a worship leader at a local ministry. I have a contract job separate from all this. Okay. My life is busy. I'm a one-to-one coach now. That was never my intention. I love it. And if I don't get up at 5, it's not going to happen. And I finally got it during this 30 days. If I don't get up at 5 and write the words, this mission has no foundation. And if this mission has no foundation, we should go home now. I should go to bed. And I'm really tired. So that's tempting. The value of being safe and being seen is that you can see what you really believe, and from there you can make a change, okay? This is my long point. I want to tell you about a moment that I experienced with my mentor. Actually, I want to tell you about 2 moments. Number 1, my children's father had a restraining order. And that happened because we had a fight, and at the end of the fight, he put me out of our house. I was leaving / he wanted me to leave, but he was closing the door, and it closed over my foot, was in the threshold of the door. And he pushed on it and it didn't go, and he pushed on it again and it didn't go, and then the door wound up splitting on the width. It made this really loud crack. I looked at him, I said, "Babe, please stop." And he did not stop. He screamed at me, "You get out of here," and shut the door. He had also dismantled my car battery. Now, to his credit, we have talked through this multiple times at this point, and it was not the scary thing that I thought it was. But because of my warped thinking at the time, and because of what counselors were telling me, that behavior needs a restraining order. And if that behavior doesn't get a restraining order, this control and anger is not going to change. And you don't have a foundation for your marriage anyway. So he had a restraining order. And through tears and being gutted, I wanted to vomit every minute that restraining order was in place, because I love this man. And I do not want to hurt him. And every boundary felt like I was hurting somebody. Anybody feel that way? Any limit that you set feels like you are hurting somebody. And this was not just a limit. This was a legal document that the court was really excited to draw up for me. It felt terrible. It was hell. It was absolute hell. So my beloved friend, Shandy was her name, had watched my entire marriage, me be boundaryless and be afraid to hurt people, me afraid to set limits with my kids because of what they would think, me afraid to deal with their feelings properly because I was afraid of how they would feel, me afraid that I was failing as a mom, me afraid that I was failing as a wife, and me just doing whatever my husband wanted because I thought that's what was needed to keep our marriage together. She had watched it, y'all, for 12 years. And so she and I are sitting in my backyard. She's coming over because I'm in this relationship disaster. I'm crying in the backyard. I said, I feel like I'm about to have a red D on my shirt. Because if this doesn't change, I know I have to file divorce papers, not to be done with him, but to appropriate what's happening. He didn't take the restraining order very well. So we needed a wake-up call. It was terrible, you guys. I'll tell you the story one day. But I'm sitting in the backyard with her. I said, I feel like I'm going to have a red D on my shirt. Like red A from the Scarlet Letter. Adulteress. I was a minister. I had to step down from leading worship. And I asked her, did you see this, what's surfacing now in our relationship? And she said this to me. She said, Katie, I vividly remember sitting on your couch 4 years in. You had Elijah, one little baby. And I remember asking you, when is it going to be okay to love Katie? When is it going to be okay with you to get the love that you are crying out for? And this is actually what I was talking about. And you couldn't answer that question, and you did not want to talk about your marriage. In fact, you asked me what that meant. And I told you that I saw dynamics between the two of you, that he wanted you to be somebody that you aren't. And I asked you if you were ready to be loved. And you made a speech about the character of Dane, your husband. I wasn't ready. So she walked me through that divorce. So she told me actually I've been seeing it the whole time, and I asked you 8 years ago if you wanted to talk about it. And I had to sob to my guts that day when she said that. I could have seen this 8 years ago. Now I want to go on record saying it's not his fault, y'all. We were toxic, okay? It's not his fault. It's no one's fault. All right. There's no such thing as fault in the kingdom. There's only responsibility. Okay, so years later, let's fast forward. She walked me through that divorce so graciously. She, like we've been talking about in this 30 days, didn't tell me advice that I didn't want to hear. Are we tracking? Are we good? Someone say safe and seen if we're good, if you're with me. Are you with me in the story? I know sometimes get lost in a story. She walked me through that divorce, held my hand through all the fear and all the sobbing, and I was starting to have some mental shifts. I was starting to understand I need some boundaries. I was beginning to see that he's probably just as hurt and scared as I am, and there needs to be time for him to misbehave. And then enters a predator, a wonderful man who loved me so much. Where I didn't feel safe and seen when I was married, suddenly I felt so safe and seen. I remember one day he said to me, you've been through so much, and what blows my mind the most about you is you've always hung on to Jesus. He said, I don't know anybody like that. I don't know anybody who's been through the kinds of things that you've been through and held on to their faith, Katie. This is how he got me. Talk about feeling seen. I felt so seen. You know what wasn't happening? Safety. Because the boundaries I set were like kind of honored for a minute and then pressed. Do you know what I'm talking about? All right, you're tracking. Thank you so much for telling me. That helps so much. I love to teach in Zoom because I can see you. So this is a learning curve. Thank you for telling me. Okay. So I'm seen by this guy. He's got a career. He's got a business he runs. I help him run his business. We get married, okay? And my mentor, CJ, who sat with me in the backyard and said, yeah, I saw that a long, long time ago, but you weren't ready. She watched the whole thing. And you know what she didn't say? She didn't say, you're being deceived. She didn't say, run for the hills. She didn't say, Dane is waiting for you to heal. She didn't say, this is not a path for healing. Do you know why? Because I would have told her she was completely wrong. Anybody? Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you ever been the advice giver and someone's like, forget you. You don't know what's going on here. Or you've received advice and you want to say to the person, you do not know what's going on here. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh, I could just weep talking about my CJ. So she stuck with me. And this guy would lie to me about little things and I would feel crazy. Have you ever had somebody like subtly lie to you and you think the problem is you? By the way, if you're living with kids who are not respectful and then you feel like you want to rage at them and then you beat yourself up for that instead of creating boundaries, you do know what I'm talking about. This is that. A subtle, chronic disregard for the integrity of your heart. A subtle message that you are being sent that you're crazy. A subtle message you are being sent that you're not quite enough or you are a bit too much and you should just do more or tone it down. Do you know what I'm talking about? And living in that environment, you start to feel crazy. And it doesn't mean who you're living with is a narcissist. It means you doubt yourself. You doubt yourself. Okay, so I was going crazy because I was being lied to. I only saw that in hindsight. And I processed with her every single one. I would go out to my car in my brand new marriage, and it feels really high stakes, right? Because the second marriage had to heal the first one, which it can never do. Felt very high stakes. She would listen to me process about this guy and just hear me. I would cry. I would say ugly things. She would say, if you think he's lying, why are you staying? I would say, I married him. That's my husband. Was she saying, divorce this man? No. She was trying to help me see that I have to be truthful if I'm going to not be in pain. You're going to have to be truthful if you're going to get out of pain, okay? But she didn't force this truth on me. She just saw me. Now, you know what else she didn't do? She didn't come dive in and make friends with the deceiver because she's a safe person. Someone who sees you, no matter what you got coming out of you, and identifies your character, believes in who you are, is half the equation. The other half is safety. And the safety is they live by integrity. The safety is they hold the line on truth. They don't force it down your throat, but they do not compromise. Do you understand what I'm saying? That to be safe and seen is two parts of what love is like. Christ is safe and he sees you. The safety is he's not buying your story. Can I get an amen if you've ever needed someone to not buy your story? Somebody put, don't buy it in the chat. If you needed someone to step into your world and say, I don't buy the story. And also, say amen in the chat if you needed someone who doesn't buy the story to see you. See, I had people in my life who were watching this happen who did not buy my story, so they were safe. But they didn't see me. They didn't walk with me in there. They didn't see the torture. They didn't see the mental torment. They didn't see the reason I let him start sleeping on the couch, and then the reason the couch became my bedroom, and then the reason we had to throw together a brewery wedding instead of a big, beautiful one where I'm wearing a white dress and I've been restored. They didn't see me. Safe and seen. You need both. Okay, so I love it. The don't buy it's and the amens are in the chat. We are tracking. This feels like a really important message today to me. Okay. Now, same mentor, CJ. She's the one who came from her town to stay with my kids and I for 5 days when the second husband was picked up to go to jail to be interviewed about the sexual assault of his daughter because she had just told me about it. She could have seen me and not come, and she could have been safe and not seen me. But I was safe and I was seen. She did not judge me. She did not ask me to do advice that I wasn't ready for, and she didn't press topics I didn't want to talk about. Safe. Seen. She showed up. And she helped me for those 5 days say a million awful words and cry a million awful tears and hold myself together around 5 traumatized kids who have no idea what's going on and pick an Airbnb and make pancakes and get the cornhole game going outside for the kids and call the attorney and return the mother-in-law phone calls and deal with DHS and go to the forensic interview center. Somebody needed to be there with me. Do you know what I'm saying? I probably would not have escaped that relationship without knowing subconsciously below the tip of the iceberg that I had someone. I had a handful of someones, but this was very particular. So let's go fast forward, okay? Here we are. She's with me here. Let's jump forward a year and a half. I'm on my healing journey. And I am processing. How many of you know with a story like that, there's going to be some processing I needed to process. I needed to say horrible things, and I needed to cry, and I needed to be wrong, and I needed to be right, and I needed to find my way. I needed to figure out what happened to me in both marriages. I needed to rediscover who I was, all the healing. I needed to get a job, and I needed to raise my kids, and I needed to negotiate the parenting, like the co-parenting contract, and I needed to prove to the kid's dad that I'm not a reckless, dangerous fool. And I needed to go through legal proceedings. You know what I'm talking about. I needed to process. I'm a deep person, and all that practical stuff had to still happen, and I had a lot to process. So one day, I'm talking to CJ, I'm video messaging, and I'm healing, which means I'm seeing things about myself that I hadn't seen before. Can we define healing like that? I saw things about myself that I hadn't seen before, and I was willing to do something new. Healing. We're full of nuggets today. There's some truth bombs in here. Healing does not mean you go lay down in a cave somewhere until you're better. Healing means you live in the same ugly world a brand new, pure, and whole way. And you do those reps until you don't have to think about it. Can I tell you how badly I wish for those 2 years that healing meant lay down somewhere? I really needed to just lay down somewhere. I was wrecked. I still hadn't healed from my first marriage. And now I'm reeling in the trauma of the second one. Wrecked. Okay. You know. So I say to her in the healing season, I'm seeing a new thing about myself. I'm describing my relationship with Dane because I was discovering things about me, and I was processing with somebody really smart about relationships and people who I trusted so much. Y'all, she had watched me for 18 years live in this toxic way and not pressed me. She just showed up. Safe. She also did not involve herself in ways that would tempt her to try to tell me something. Safe. Boundaries. So she came and went in my life for a really long time, but she saw it all. Seen. Okay. I'm telling her this on the phone. I'm telling her about this dynamic between the kid's dad and me. And she's saying that maybe you this, or maybe you thought that, or maybe he this. And she's doing the curious possibilities about the goodwill that could have come from. And I said this to her. I said, you weren't there. You didn't see it. He was cruel. It was intentional. It was consistent, and it was cruel. And he knew what I needed, and he withheld it on purpose, dangling it in front of me the entire time. Cruel. She said, would you call your marriage to him abusive? I said, 100%. And then she said this. It sounds like you think you know why he was doing what he was doing. Now, on my healing journey, I had learned that was only going to set me up for pain. She said, I don't think it's abusive. I think you could have got up and left any time, and you didn't. And I don't think it was cruel, because that would mean his intention was to hurt you. And I believe that he loved you, and he was very broken. And when she said those sentences to me, my friends, I was on a Marco Polo chat with her, a video phone chat. I wanted to jump through the phone and put her against a wall. Have you ever felt this way? Have you ever felt that someone was making small of the thing that you've been through? That you were very vulnerable with them, and they're telling you that you don't see it right? I'm going to tell you why it worked on me that day, but you probably can put it together. This woman saw me for an entire 18 years, which is the time it takes from being born to being a grown-up. I had known her, and she had known me intimately and watched me be toxic. And she never pressed me to make a different decision. She walked with me through so many hells, knowing that I could do better, knowing that I could be different, knowing that I should be doing something about my problems that I kept creating for myself. And she didn't coerce or advise or lead me somewhere that I didn't want to be. Seen. And she didn't dive into my world and make it all better or try to fix it for me on any level. And when she felt like her involvement was going to tempt her to get me to wake the hell up, that's what was needed, she excused herself and kept her distance for a while. When I defended both husbands' characters, she excused herself and just hung out. That is why she had the authority in my life to say to me, Dane loved you. He was broken. He was not cruel. And it was not abuse. You could have left. Now, I'm not saying there's no such thing as marital abuse. I'm saying this was not that, okay? Just so you hear me. If you're tracking, say tracking. The reason her advice took is because I was safe and I was seen. Safe, boundaries, truth, integrity, no enabling, no compromise. Seen, validation, empathy, presence. What I want to be for everybody in my life is safe, and I want to see them. Yay, tracking. I'm so glad. I know it's a bit of a long one today. I want my kids to know they are safe and seen around me. And you know when that counts? It's not at the dinner table when we're all having a good time or when we're playing our favorite Nintendo game. It counts when they accuse me. It counts when they throw a fit. It counts when they're not following the rules and we have to have a hard conversation about it. With their dad. How many of you know he's not going to trust me that he is safe and seen around me at when we play Monopoly Deal with the kids and then he takes them to his house for the weekend? He's going to know he's safe and seen around me when he finally blows up at me. And I listen. And I don't compromise, but I hear him and I get curious and I try to learn another perspective. That's when he'll know that he's safe. Are you getting what I'm saying to you? It's practiced in the non-moments. It is proven in the conflict. We practice where the stakes aren't really there, so that when the stakes get there, we know exactly how to operate. The reason I get to love my kids the way that I love them, Hannah, let's go! The reason I get to love my kids the way that I get to love them, and I'm not perfect, but I am in a constant pursuit of being a safe place who sees them. Safe, true, not bending, seeing you. I get it. I'm with you. I'm right here. I'm not moving, but I'm right here. I'm not changing my mind, and I'm right here. What you're saying makes sense because I can tell you where you came from. I'm the one who did that to you. The reason I can do that for them and with them is that I am the recipient of a woman who mothered me as an adult. Period. There's not another reason. I had a client say to me today, recently I had a client say to me, he said, as a guy, he said, Katie, you are, I think, a handful of years younger than me. He was like, I'm not going to ask. I think you're a handful of years younger than me. And he cried, this grown man, and he said, I'm so grateful to you because you have emotionally mothered me. You don't let me get away with any BS, and you love me no matter where I am. And I've emotionally grown up because of your life. And you know what my immediate thought was? I've emotionally grown up because of CJ's life. I want you to understand the value of being in a safe environment where you are seen and find it. You can pick it. How many of you know I could have received CJ's safety sooner? Do you know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars and how much safety and how much sanity that would have saved me? If I'd have checked myself in and said, I'm looking below the surface and I think there's some stuff here causing me to do some behaviors. The glacier is shifting and I can't move the tip of the iceberg to do something better. What you need is to be safe and what you need is to be seen so that all that crap can be irped up. So somebody who loves you can tell you the truth in a way that you can hear it. Okay? I love you too, Lisa. This was a fun talk. I didn't know it was going to be such a fun talk. Okay, tomorrow, we are going to talk about sustainable growth. I don't want you to miss it. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how to change in a way. Once you see below the surface, because you've been safely loved, you've been seen, we're going to talk about then what do you do? Because how many of you have been inspired on a Sunday morning and you're like, my whole life is different now. Everything has changed. You raise your hands on Sundays, you got coffee in your body, your kids look cute, your guy is there, the worship music is amazing, and you're like, this changes everything. If you had an encounter with the Lord and you're like, this changes everything. If you had a worship set, this changes everything. That's what it happens for me, is music. It's my lane. And by Tuesday, everything is back to the way it was. Or by the time you get in the car, everything is back to the way it was. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the hamster wheel, chasing a change that doesn't ever happen versus the track you're running on that will create a life that you are so proud of and that you're so proud to model for the people around you that you get to invite them into and be full of purpose and energy and passion. Sustainable change. That's tomorrow. I'm so excited to share that with you, and I'm so happy that you were here today. And as always, I want you to reach out if you're interested in the Confident Mom Code. By the way, also on Friday, so that's tomorrow, Sustainable Change. On Friday, I'm going to tell you what the Confident Mom Code is. I've called it lots of things. We're going to talk about why Brave Moms Academy is called Brave Moms Academy. I'm going to tell you about a whole generation of women with the invitation to not be alone, to be safe and seen, and create sustainable change to cause a ripple effect in this nation of emotionally healthy Christianity. Isn't it crazy that when I say emotionally healthy Christianity, we're all like, wouldn't that be amazing? Why is there a gap? I live to bridge that gap. I'll see you tomorrow at, let's look at my calendar. Tomorrow's Thursday. And we will be here at, 9:30 a.m. because the Confident Mom Code, Courage and Calm communication people are in with us at 10 on Zoom. So if you want to be there this week, reach out to me. So 9:30 we will be here. 10 o'clock we're in the Zoom room in the coaching space. If you need to be there, let me know. Lisa said, come be loved. I'm telling you what, the Brave Moms Academy family is the most loving, safe, humble, committed to truth group of women I've ever met. Think about my walk with CJ, my relationship with her. Now just multiply that to everybody we're with in that room. Every woman is that way, full of truth, full of humility, transparency, and down to grow. Oh my gosh, what are we doing? Okay, all right. Tomorrow, 9:30. I'll see you there. I love you so much. I love you so much. See you soon.